BRAINY presents 15 things that are a complete waste of your money. If someone asked you to list every single thing you spent money on just last month, could you do it? Probably not. And that's because most of your money doesn't disappear in dramatic ways. It leaks out quietly. The average person actually has no idea how much money they waste. But according to consumer spending data, most households lose hundreds to thousands of dollars annually on purchases they barely remember making. Even those who earn more tend to report feeling financially tight. The money comes in, but it doesn't seem to stick. I'm not telling you to stop spending, nor am I promoting an extreme minimalist lifestyle. This video is about identifying expenses that consistently cost more than they're worth. Let's dive right in. Cheap products that break quickly. Buying cheap can feel smart at first. Lower price, same function, problem solved. Until it isn't. Low quality items tend to fail in predictable ways. They crack, wear down, lose accuracy, or stop functioning just enough to become annoying. Then you replace them, and then you do it again. Eventually the total cost creeps past what one well-made version would have cost up front. The difference is that the expensive mistake of buying cheap feels invisible because it's spread out. Then there's also a mental toll. Dealing with constant replacements trains you to expect failure, which lowers standards across the board. Paying a bit more for durability in most cases saves money, time, and frustration in the long run. Overpaying to avoid mild discomfort. Much of modern spending is purely to eliminate minor inconveniences. I'm talking about things like extra fees just to get something faster, even when timing doesn't really matter. Paying for rides instead of walking short distances. Frequent takeout and food delivery because cooking feels tiring after a long day. Of course, none of these choices are catastrophic on their own. The problem is repetition. When avoiding discomfort becomes automatic, spending becomes unintentional. You're basically paying a premium to keep friction out of daily life, and that adds up quickly. Storage solutions instead of fewer possessions. When stuff starts taking over, the default response is often to buy organization. More bins, more shelves, more containers, and drawer systems. Organization feels productive and it can look like progress, but often it just delays a harder question. Why is all this here in the first place? All storage does is hide excess more neatly. And don't forget, once storage is full, the cycle repeats. Owning fewer things almost always costs less than trying to manage more. Disposable lifestyle habits. Single-use items appear efficient because they save time in the moment. The catch is that they make you commit to a permanent replacement loop. The individual purchases are small enough to ignore, which is exactly why they work. But anything that requires constant rebuying without adding lasting value is almost always a losing trade. Reusable alternatives usually need a bit more thought up front, but they dramatically reduce long-term spending while also reducing clutter and waste. Trend-driven purchases. Whether it's clothing, gadgets, decor, or wellness fads, trend-based purchases peak in price and attention at the same time. By the time you've adjusted to owning them, they already feel dated. And that's because trends are designed to expire. The appeal comes from being current, not from lasting value. And once that sense of newness wears off, the item becomes less relevant. You're left with something that's still good, still takes up space, but no longer feels worth what you paid, quietly pushing you toward the next trend. Paying for access you don't use. Access feels valuable because it suggests possibility. Memberships, clubs, communities, lounges, and professional networks all sell the idea that opportunity is waiting just beyond the door. What they don't sell is follow through. If you're paying for access but rarely show up, participate, or use what's available, you're not investing, you're donating. The value of access only exists if it's activated. Otherwise, it's just another recurring charge attached to good intentions. Brand names when the product is identical. In many categories, the difference between a brand name and a generic alternative is nothing but marketing. From medications with identical active ingredients to household cleaners with the same formulas, even food staples sourced from the same suppliers, and basic clothing items where branding adds nothing to durability or comfort. You're often paying for recognition rather than results. Brand loyalty without functional advantage is one of the easiest ways to overspend without realizing it. Magic fix solutions. Anything promising fast transformation with minimal effort should trigger skepticism. Products such as expensive makeup and skincare, miracle supplements, and instant productivity systems all rely on the same idea that progress can be purchased rather than built. The initial excitement feels like momentum, but it fades quickly, leaving the underlying issue untouched. What you're really paying for is a temporary sense of hope, which wears off long before the next solution appears. Replacing things that still work. Functional items don't stop working because they stop feeling exciting, be it a gadget, an appliance, or a piece of furniture. Replacing them early turns novelty into a recurring expense. There's a difference between upgrading because something no longer works and upgrading because it no longer feels new. Aesthetic dissatisfaction is costly, especially when it overrides practicality. Brand new cars, if you care about value. The second a new car leaves the lot, it loses value. The first few years deliver the steepest depreciation, meaning you're paying a premium just to be the first owner. Lightly used vehicles offer nearly identical performance, features, and reliability at a significantly lower cost. If value matters, buying new in this case is rarely the smartest financial move. Premium versions of free information. Information has never been more accessible. Financial advice, fitness guidance, productivity strategies, relationship insights, all widely available for free. Paid versions merely package the same ideas with better branding and a sense of commitment. You're not always paying for knowledge. More often than not, you're paying for motivation, and motivation tends to fade faster than subscription renewals. Social spending out of obligation. Spending to keep up appearances is one of the most emotionally expensive habits there is. Think going out when you don't want to, overspending on gifts, saying yes to events to avoid awkwardness, or generally trying to match the spending levels of people in very different financial brackets. None of this improves relationships in the long run. It just creates resentment and financial strain. Real connections don't require constant financial proof. ATM overdraft and late fees. These charges are money paid for absolutely nothing in return. Nothing improves and no problem is solved. You're simply paying a penalty for timing, friction, or system design. What makes these fees especially damaging is how invisible they feel. Each charge looks small enough to ignore, so it doesn't trigger the same resistance as a large purchase. But they do stack up. A missed payment here, an overdraft there, a few out-of-network withdrawals, and suddenly hundreds of dollars have disappeared without creating a single moment of value. Over-optimizing for rare scenarios. Buying equipment, insurance add-ons, or backup solutions for unlikely events might feel responsible, but it usually isn't. Preparing for every hypothetical outcome can cost way more than handling the rare problem, if it ever happens. Smart preparation is proportional, and it's based on realistic risk. When spending is driven by anxiety instead of probability, logic takes a back seat, and costs pile up. You end up paying for peace of mind that's never really needed. Lifestyle inflation. This one is tricky and can be quite dangerous because it seems like progress. Earning more money and automatically upgrading everything keeps financial pressure constant, regardless of income level. Bigger homes, better cars, pricier habits. The baseline just shifts upward. Higher income only creates freedom if spending stays intentional. Otherwise, you're just running faster on the same treadmill. If this video helped you see your spending a little more clearly, give it a like, leave a comment, and share with your friends and family. For more content like this, be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.